Artificial intelligence is making more and more decisions for us every single day. And that brings up a really critical question. Who's watching the AI? Today, we're going to dig into why having a human in the loop isn't just a nice to have, it's an absolutely essential safeguard for our future.
I mean, really think about that for a second. An AI could have the final say on your job application, whether or not you get a loan, or even your medical diagnosis. These are huge, life-altering moments. So if an algorithm is calling the shots, who's in charge of the algorithm? That's the big question we're tackling here.
And this quote, right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the problem. AI is amazing at spotting patterns in massive amounts of data, better than any human. But, and this is a huge but, it has zero real understanding of what those patterns actually mean. It doesn't get context or ethics or fairness. It just sees the data.
So that leads us right into the central dilemma. We've got this explosion of AI in finance, education, healthcare, you name it. But all of that incredible power comes with a gigantic blind spot.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. While AI can crunch numbers and process information on a scale we can't even imagine, it's missing the very things we count on for fair decisions. It can't make a moral judgment call, it can't truly understand the real-world impact of its choices, and you can't hold a piece of code responsible when things go wrong. This is exactly why human oversight isn't just a good idea, it is an absolute necessity.
Let's break this down, because it really boils down to three core, unavoidable risks that pop up when we just let AI run the show without any checks and balances.
All right, first up, the huge problem of bias.
An AI is only as good as the data we feed it. And what's in that data? Well, it's our history, and that includes all of our built-in societal biases, our inequalities, our prejudices. An AI doesn't know any better. It just learns those biases as if they're facts, and then it can amplify them on a massive scale, all while hiding behind this dangerous illusion of being totally objective and neutral. It's not.
The second major risk, it's all about judgment.
See, an algorithm works with rigid rules and patterns. But life isn't like that, right? A tough medical decision or a complex legal case is full of nuance, ethical gray areas, and really unique circumstances. An algorithm just can't handle that kind of complexity. For those kinds of ethically charged decisions, you have to have a human as the final judge, no question.
And that brings us to the third core risk, and it's a big one: responsibility. It really is this simple. When a decision causes harm, when it messes with someone's rights, their safety, their livelihood, who's responsible? You can't blame the algorithm. You can't put a line of code on trial. Accountability demands a person, a human being who can be held answerable for the consequences. Without that, you can't have justice.
Now, this isn't just some abstract theoretical stuff. We have seen these exact risks play out in the real world, sometimes with devastating results. So let's look at a few pretty famous examples.
Okay, our first case takes us to the UK back in 2020. Exams were canceled because of the pandemic, so the government decided to use an algorithm to standardize student grades for their A-levels. You know, the huge exams that basically decide if you get into university. What happened next was a total disaster.
The scale of this failure was just staggering. The algorithm downgraded nearly 40% of the grades the teachers had predicted. Just let that sink in. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of students whose entire futures were changed by a faulty algorithm.
So what on earth went wrong? Well, this was a textbook case of inherited bias. The algorithm didn't judge students on their own work, it judged them based on their school's historical performance, so it systematically punished smart kids from schools in disadvantaged areas. And the worst part? There was no real human review process to catch this glaring flaw. It took a massive public outcry to force the government to scrap the whole thing.
And this isn't just a government problem. Over in the corporate world, Amazon tried to build an AI tool to help them screen resumes. Sounds like a good idea, right? Except the AI learned something the engineers never, ever intended. So, because the AI was trained on a decade's worth of resumes from a tech industry that was, mostly men, it basically taught itself that men were better candidates. It literally penalized resumes that had the word women's in them, like captain of the women's chess club, while it favored resumes with male-coded language. The bias was baked right into its DNA. Without humans stepping in to challenge its output, it just became an engine for discrimination. Amazon eventually had to shut the whole project down.
Our last case study moves us from people's life chances to straight-up life and death. Tesla's autopilot system has been at the center of several really high-profile accidents, and it's a stark reminder of the dangers of relying too much on automation when the stakes are this high.
The real problem here was this dangerous gap between what the technology could actually do and what people thought it could do. The system had known issues. Drivers weren't being properly monitored to make sure they were paying attention, and even the marketing kind of blurred the lines. This is a classic example of where that human-in-the-loop safeguard failed, and it led to some truly tragic outcomes.
Okay, so we've seen the risks, we've seen the real-world failures. So what's the solution? Look, it's not about stopping AI. It's about building the right framework around it. It's about putting that essential safeguard in place.
The core idea is called human-in-the-loop. It's a simple concept, but it's incredibly powerful. It just means that a human being has to be a required part of the process, specifically to make sure the AI's actions line up with our values, our laws, and our basic sense of fairness.
This really means that humans bring 4 critical things to the table that an AI just can't. First, there's ethical judgment, for all those times when the rules just aren't enough. Second, accountability, so someone is always responsible. Third is interpretability, the ability to look at a weird decision the AI made and figure out why. And finally, corrective action, the power to step in and fix things when they go wrong. This quote, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. AI does not go wrong because it is malicious. It goes wrong because it is indifferent. The real danger isn't that AI is evil, it's that it is totally, completely indifferent to the human consequences of its calculations. Our job is to be its conscience.
So we'll end on this question for you to think about. Intelligence is about processing power, about spotting patterns, and AI is only going to get better and better at that. But wisdom, well, wisdom is about judgment, ethics, and deep understanding. And figuring out how to make sure our ever smarter tools also become wiser, that just might be the greatest challenge of our time.